If you are following our standard schedule, the chances are you're waiting for episode 8 of our Tesla News Roundup. But because Tesla is releasing its first quarter earnings call information today, Wednesday, we're pushing back our production a whole day. This means instead of getting your bi-weekly Tesla roundup of news on a Wednesday, Tuesday for our supporters on Patreon and YouTube, we're pushing it live on Thursday, or today in the evening, early release, if you're on Patreon or YouTube. So today, I'm availing myself the opportunity to take advantage of scheduling changes to bring you a slightly different video. I suspect it's going to cause some waves, but it needs to be said. And when MKBHD makes videos talking about the ways in which YouTube as a whole is making some really poor choices and how other content creators are calling out tech companies for their poor practices, I think we can do the same here. See, there has never been more interest in the world of electric vehicles as we see today. New cars are being announced every month, and we're finding an almost endless stream of events taking place in the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter vehicles. With so much going on, there are a bunch of new content creators getting into the EV space, who, along with more established content creators, are breathlessly covering every news story with a pulse. And as view counts dwindle as people head outside for the first time in a few years, regain their pre-COVID social lives, and plan for holidays, there's a disturbing trend I feel that we all need to talk about. The trend to make things seem what they are not. And today, I'm going to talk about full disclosure, honesty, and what some content creators don't actually want us to talk about, and why words really do matter when you're describing things online. I'm also going to talk about what you can do as a viewer to help bring the conversation back to a sensible place, encouraging other content creators, as well as ourselves, to make well thought out content, not entertainment masquerading as news. To do so, I'm going to pause the B-roll for this video because I want this video's message to be as undiluted as possible. But first, a quick reminder that if you do like our mixture of content, we would love it if you'd consider hitting subscribe and the notification bell, as well as checking your notification preferences for this channel. And if you would like to go one step further, stick around until the end, and I'll tell you the ways you can help this channel grow and pay our bills. And yes, I know an ad for becoming a channel supporter is about as 2022 YouTube as you can get, but I'm going to explain we do things very differently to some other outlets. The first thing I want to tackle is the fact that language matters. Just over a month ago, Michael and I headed down to Los Angeles as guests of Super 73 for the company's 2022 lineup launch event. And as part of that, we were in town a good day before the event actually took place. So we did what any content creator would do and figured out a way to make sure we could add some extra value to our trip. We ended up hiring a Tesla and driving down to see the awesome folks at Aptera, a company I've followed for more than a decade and, disclaimer, a company I currently have a deposit on a vehicle with. We had reached out and pitched the idea of getting an update interview with Chris Anthony or Steve Fambro, company co-founders, and maybe getting a ride-along in the latest prototype after our experience last year. Aptera agreed, and we set up an interview time with Chris, and we had a spin around the block in a beta prototype. Like last year's video, we were passengers, and thus our coverage was really clear about the fact that it was a ride-along, not a drive. But two very well-known YouTubers last week posted videos that, directly or indirectly, promoted their own ride-alongs, filmed after we'd filmed ours, and made it look as if they'd actually driven the car rather than ridden in it. One pushed an email to fans, and one noted it right in their video description. Look, I don't want to name-check them here, but let's just say I hoped more from both of them. And When you are looking through YouTube content for videos on a particular video, and one implies it was a first drive versus a first ride, you know which one is going to be picked first. And to be clear, I am not complaining about Jay Leno, who actually did drive an Alpha prototype, because to our knowledge, he's the only one thus far who has driven an Aptera on the road outside of the Aptera team. And look, when Jay Leno does something like that, there's a lot behind the scenes to make sure that it's possible, like police escorts and other things. I've seen bigger channels doing this same we've driven rather than ridden thing in other vehicles, ranging from the Ford F-150 Lightning to far more exotic things, which does kind of make me wonder if lying on your thumbnail or description is the way to get views. But we're not going to do it. Sure, we have done our fair share of clickbait titles and thumbs over the years, but we don't say we've done something we haven't. And so here's a quick reminder. When we say we've driven something, we've actually driven it. When we've just ridden in it, we say it's just a ride. And when we're experiencing something for the first time, we might call it like a first look, or if we're driving it for a short period of time, it's a first drive or first impressions. In a similar vein, if we are reviewing something, we are generally expecting to have said thing for a day or two. Otherwise, it's not a full in-depth review. So the next time a YouTuber in the EV space makes a claim that their video doesn't follow up on, including us, by the way, I want you to tell them. The only way we're going to nip this trend in the bud is to call out content creators when they say they've done things they haven't. And look, if we want more people to drive EVs, honesty is the way to make that happen. With the first bugbear out of the way, let's move to a second irritation with some other content creators out there. The passing of rumours as truth, or in fact, just making stuff up. We see this a lot with Tesla-themed stories. Headlines like, Elon Musk just announced a brand new car, or Tesla is launching an affordable tech home. The headlines go on, you get the idea. These videos are often from what I'm going to call automated channels, you know, the ones that combine static images or easily accessible B-roll with computerized narration. But they're often picked up by other channels, often with well-meaning fans running them, who haven't thought to do any kind of critical thinking about the misinformation that they are consuming and then sharing, and rumours get born. The number of times that we've had to fight misinformation on this channel in the comment section because some channel wants to get rich off EVs and is just promoting complete baloney is frustrating at best and soul-destroying at worst. I mean, I'll admit, there are days when we all just feel like quitting because of the disamount of information out there. How about tackling this one? No, it's harder. You should watch videos with a critical eye, and if it comes from a source you don't know, do some digging. Cross-check the references, and hey, if it's a story you're not sure of, the team here at the channel are only too happy to let you know our thoughts. And look, I get it, not everyone is perfect. Sometimes, even if you do all of the checks, a fake story can seem real. We've been duped before. But when we do something wrong and say something wrong, we work hard to correct that in a future show and or via a pinned comment on the video or in the description. Oh, and again, when something is reported or alleged, we will say it's reported or alleged. If we have official statements from a company or an individual, we'll make it clear they're that too. And when we have our own source that we're not naming, we'll let you know that we have our own anonymous source. Finally then, let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about. It's the biggest elephant in the room. How some content creators are being paid by automakers to produce reviews of new cars. Traditionally, when an automaker launches a new car, journalists get invited out to a test drive or launch event, with the automaker providing the publication or journalist with airfare, meals, and accommodation to help get them there. And it used to be standard practice for outlets to state that that had happened somewhere in their review, either in the body of the text or in a footnote. And when we are invited to a press event or a drive, it is usually the automaker in question who helps cover our accommodation, meals, and travel. Outside of that, though, there's no exception that anyone will change their review because of those things being covered. Yet, in recent years, there's a trend in the YouTube world, primarily more towards influencers than more traditional automotive journalists, which we consider ourselves to be, where automakers agree to pay for a review of their vehicle. And I'm not just talking about getting them there and putting them up in a fancy hotel and feeding them nice food. I'm talking about paying someone to be there and to make a review in cold, hard cash. Essentially to make what we would call a featured video or a sponsored video. Several automakers have started to do this in recent years, sometimes with thousands of dollars changing hands, although no mainstream automaker has ever offered us such a deal. And frankly, if they did, we'd say no. What we have been offered time and time again, though, are paid reviews of other products, be they micromobility solutions or adjacent technologies. And sometimes other industries invite us out to events and wave cash in our face, and we always say no. We might go, but we won't take the cash. And while we have received products from companies to review and been able to keep them, we never demand money from a company in order to make a video about their product. That seems too extreme and brings into question issues about tipping the scales towards adverts rather than reviews. And to be clear, if we're given a product to review and we get to keep it, we normally pass it on to someone else. While we have our editorial line, I have no issue with other channels taking payment from companies for their reviews as long as they clearly state it. We won't. But as a video by the lovely Tom Scott detailed a while back, it's something of a grey area even if YouTube asks you to make any financial relationships known about a product when you're making a video on it. So how can we tackle that one? Well, it is down to content creators to step up to the plate and be honest about their relationships with automakers, sponsors, and other firms they work with, because if they don't, it damages everyone's reputation. We have reviewed vehicles in the last 2 years that everyone else seems to really like, but we felt were a bit meh. And when we did some digging, we discovered that there were pre-existing relationships with some of the channels that had reviewed the product. I'll leave you to make your own conclusions. Making money is hard, especially if you're new to online content creation. But at the end of the day, in my experience and the experience of the team here, the more upfront you are with your audience, the less messy things get along the road. And look, I know some people get into EV YouTube to make money. There is nothing wrong with that as long as it's done transparently. But in an age where anyone can pick up a camera and make content on a relatively small budget, I do think it's important to keep all of ourselves honest about the content we make. That means saying the popular stuff and the unpopular stuff, making sure our thoughts are informed, and remembering that, as I often say, context is king. That's it for today. If you did like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. There are links in the description. And if you want to tell us how awesome we are without leaving YouTube, maybe you do, then why not try a super thanks? It's easy to pass on the love, and any money from that goes to helping the channel grow. Don't forget, we try to produce videos every single day on this network for you to enjoy, ranging from deep dives and features to tutorials, unboxings, and reviews. And if you want the most comprehensive roundup of all of the news in the EV world on a weekly basis, don't forget to check out our News Roundup Show every Saturday. If you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed to this channel and to our other channel, Transport Evolved Take 2, and give the bell a ring to make sure you're told when our next video goes live. Thanks on behalf of the entire TE crew, all 4 of us. go out to the folks on my right for being our $15 to $49 a month supporters. Special thanks to our $50 a month patrons. That's Chris Maxwell, Bennett Elder, Brian Newton, Dave Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leon, Andrew Martin, Guido Drahota, Brophy Wolf, Tesla in the Gong, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Carl Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Regine Fellows, Rory Litwin, Anonymous Freak, Jim Burness, Chris Ascenter and Denny Hyde, and our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month patron supporters: Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, Joe Bresney, JP Fagerback, Will Graylin, Matthew Drobnak, John Lyons, Christopher Lee Jones, Andrew Glenn, Paul Conway, Laura Reynolds, Ellery Hensley, and Ian. If you would like to be part of that amazing list, you can join Patreon at the link below. You can hit the join button to support us on YouTube, or you can show us our support through Ko-fi or by buying some cool swag from our swag store. And if you are unable to support us financially, just know that watching this video really makes a difference. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving.